Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, then this is the show for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create the life you love or love the life you create. Now here's your host, Dr. April, and her co-host, Coach K.
Welcome to the Bring It Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real.
You jamming.
I know. It's March, and it is March Madness. Do you have any madness going on in your life?
Always. Look, even my hair is madness.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about today's show. We are going to be talking about winning relationship strategies. You know, how can we win in relationships that is good for us and for our partner? But yes, it is March Madness and things are happening all over.
Yes, it's definitely, it's spring fever is coming.
Yes, and I feel kind of exactly the same way in the sense of things just going craziness, in the sense of stuff's always happening. So I'm sharing my space now with my adult daughter, and it's a little nuts. Haven't had a roommate in a while.
and then it's the grown daughter versus when she was younger, and so getting accustomed to that. That's fun.
Yes, it's fun, definitely. So before we get into our topic, of course, is our charity of the month, which is Women Rising, which I love this charity because as women, we have so much stuff going on. It just makes us, some between children, work, responsibilities of life, our bodies, our hormones, it's a lot. And so what Women Rising does is they assess women and their families and providing social services and development and advocacy services.
That's good. A program just dedicated to that. That's very good. Women Rising.
Yes, because as women, we got to rise.
Yes.
Yes. As I stated earlier, today's topic is about losing to winning relationship strategies. Yes, because relationships are, as I think about it, Coach K, when we pass away, we can't take anything with us.
Right.
What matters in the end is our relationships.
That's the one thing, that's the most important thing that's left behind. Yes.
Yeah. And it's how we live our lives, and it affects everything else that we do.
It really, in that, especially that relationship with yourself, because that spews out into the relationships that you build and have with everyone else.
Definitely. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, you and I are going to come up with some relationship strategies to help all our audience out there. And if you're out there on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you have a question, you're like, how can I make it in this relationship? Let us know, because we're going to give you some strategies. We'll be back in a moment.
Are you a business professional? Dr. April Brown's latest book is for you. Whether you are newly hired or managing a team of employees, her 30 intimacy-driven business principles will help you progress towards career success. Learn how to show up as your best self at work, what it means to cultivate a meaningful career, and how to avoid burnout, all while living up to your highest professional potential. Improving Intimacy, the book for business professionals, is available on Amazon in Kindle, Audible, and paperback. Search Dr. April Brown on Amazon to view all her books on improving intimacy for yourself, spouse, spirit, and more.
Welcome back to the Bring It Intimacy where intimacy is real. And today's topic is about winning relationship strategies. So just like in basketball, as we're doing March Madness or in any kind of event, if you're struggling in your relationship and you're maybe you're struggling with yourself and you're like, oh my gosh, I want a relationship. I want a relationship. Really, and you're not doing anything about it, you're really sitting on the bench.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as you get off that bench and go into this feel of connecting, I think one of the number one strategies of relationship is knowing yourself.
Oh, yeah. Very important one.
Yes. Yeah. And not losing yourself. And what I see in a lot of relationships or some couples or whatever, it's sometimes a partner lose themselves. They are so like, I'm so invested in this other person that I'm just going to take on everything they like. You know, how they wear my hair, clothes, dress, everything.
And keeping with and thinking about the sports, especially, in basketball, we think about how many young people, they want to be like, I want to be like Jordan. I want to be like LeBron. So they work towards that. And it makes it difficult for them to come into their own style of playing. And that is exactly what happens in relationships. Like they start to walk in each other's pathways. And you either are now in the way or you're in unfamiliar territory. So you can't formulate a genuine connection.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. So I like how you put that. Yeah, they're like coming together in some aspect or in the way. Yes. And that same aspect, I think the number two strategy is to help people remember that when you're there with a partner, it is a team.
Yes. And that is not 50-50. That's something that's been taught for years. Relationships are 50-50. Well, to me, and I get where they're coming from, but it's 100-100. We strive for 100-100. How about that? We should strive for that, having your full self present versus 50-50 is easy. That means you just got to halfway do it.
And I guess, and with the 50-50, someone says, well, if he's not talking, I'm not going to talk. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And that's, yes.
Yeah. If she's going to give me an attitude. Yeah.
That's what 50-50 would get you every single time. But if you are striving for 100-100, if someone's not talking and you want to give 100% of yourself, then you start that conversation to find out, well, what's going on? What's missing? What can I do to X, Y, and Z?
Right. Right. And another one that I hear about in this whole 50-50 aspect is, he wants sex from me twice a week, then he must do this twice a week. Or
the bargaining.
The bargaining, yes. Yes, definitely. And there is no room for bargaining because, and I guess we can go into strategy number 3. There's got to be a compromise.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you work together as a team, we sometimes go in and out of roles, even as the long-term marriage, that in the beginning, maybe one person is the sole provider, one stays home with the kids, then it switches, you know what I'm saying? Or one person has cancer may help this person. It is the intertwining of roles, just like.
And again, keeping with that sports theme and thinking about that, 2 going into 3, as a team, everyone has their role. The center, the guard, the shooting guard, point guards, right? But like you said, every once in a while, you have to rotate those positions. And that's the same in a relationship. And I love how you put that. Right now you may be the sole provider, the breadwinner per se, and the other partner has to be at home and doing more of the home things. What I see in today's world is we can't get beyond the starting five to see who's going to come off the bench and play later. And what I mean by that is, if this person is not at this stature right now, if we're not, things don't look like this, I don't even want to entertain it. And so we're finding so many people who are just jumping into relationships just because of what is in today. And then long term, it doesn't pan out because they didn't think about, well, I might have to switch a position. I may not be my husband or future husband may not be the provider I want today, but does he have the potential to be?
Right.
And that's why we have the bench versus the starting five. If it was just all about what's going to happen in the end, you would just have 5 players on every team for basketball. They would have to play the whole game. Everyone would be tired and burnt out.
Yes, definitely. I mean, that what you just said is really important in that aspect. And I like how you put that. Sometimes you have to, you've got to compromise.
You absolutely have to. And understanding that compromise does not mean giving up yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Compromise means adapting within yourself to meet whatever limitations, you know your limits. And if that means that compromise is beyond my limit, I'm either going to say, hey, this is where I can go. That's my compromise. Right. Doesn't have to look a certain way. So absolutely right.
Right. And I'm going on to strategy number 4, because we're talking about compromise. I'm thinking about also that sometimes when you have the ball, sometimes you need to pass it.
Yes.
Everything that your partner does, do you need to sit there and focus and yell and scream? Sometimes you need to let things go. Pass it on. Let's not
I
get.
love that.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. Yeah. You can always sometimes make it short, but sometimes it's more important for the team, for the relationship, to pass the ball. Give your partner grace.
That's a huge one. That is so huge. Understand, especially when it comes to, there are in relationships, both the man and women, they get stuck into gender roles, right? And so they feel like they have to carry this play every single time. Like, I'm the shooting guard. Every time I touch the ball, I gotta throw it.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't work. So if and we think about Shaq, who cannot shoot from the free throw line. So everyone tries to consistently foul him, right? He recognized that he can't shoot from the free throw line. So he does other things. He's going to pass the ball. I can't shoot. So if I get it, I know I'm tall, I'm good at direction, so he can get the ball in the hands of who he needs to. So just like in a relationship, if you are not the person that's good with finances, then pass the ball. Sit with your team member,
right?
And you can try to learn it, pass it off. Because, finances is one of those top 5, reasons why relationships kind of dwindle.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do it all because you're the breadwinner. If you can bring the money in, but your partner is good with dishing it out, that's the teamwork.
Right. Definitely. Wow. Exactly. And, yeah. And the other thing I was thinking, kind of just when you said about the teamwork, in basketball, and especially in the what we're talking about now, March Madness, they have what they call the strength of the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Like how difficult a season may be for a team or what their schedule is. And I think as couples, we have to realize that we go through seasons.
Yeah.
And in some seasons of a relationship, it may be really tough. It may be, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? You may feel like, oh my gosh, my partner and I are not connecting. I have a parent in the hospital. I have my children acting up in school. I have, you know, my job giving me a tough time. But in that strength of a schedule, there's also the strength of a record.
Mm.
Remembering those good times.
Yeah, building your intimacy bank and building your trust bank.
Exactly.
And that's I love this season. So we think about I'm gonna bring everything back to sports now.
But yes, that's where we're on. Yes.
So we think about the off season of a football. I mean, a best or any sports schedule,
Right.
right? You're supposed to continue to exercise and keep your stamina up and your strength up and eat right so that when the on season is, you're just on point. Well, like you said, there are those times where you didn't do right in the off season. You didn't build up your intimacy bank. You didn't build up your trust bank. So when it comes time for, some kind of strife or things are kind of strained between you, you don't have anything in your bank to pull from to keep it soft and to balance that potential conversation out. So it's important to during the off season or during those tougher times draw from your intimacy bank. But it's more important that during the on season, when things are awesome,
Right.
do the extra things that add to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
If that means, you know what, it was and I put up a video of it for weeks, couple weeks. My husband had been talking about ordering his tool bags, and he
Okay.
asked my daughter to order a tool bag. So I'm listening to this for weeks. And so one day I ordered a tool bag and just left it on the bed. Something like that means I'm listening and I'm adding to the intimacy bank at that point. So that in those tough times, I can withdraw from that to get us through that tough moment, those other tough moments.
Right, right. It's like you saw your husband and you saw what he needed and you provided. Yes.
Yeah. And that
And
comes with so many different things. Like listening to when he said, I love avocados. So I make sure that every so often I keep 5 avocados in the house.
mhm.
Those are little, small, itty bitty little things. Every little deposit makes a difference. $1 is not a whole lot of money, but $1 over 100 days, it's a good amount of money.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And so as I'm thinking, as we're making all these great deposits, there comes a time sometimes when we mess up,
Mhm.
which is, I think, strategy number 6 that we're on. And we foul. We make a foul. We do something that is hurtful to the team. And when that happens, I do think sometimes it's important for you to take a time out, calm yourself down, so you can go back and say, hey, I'm sorry, and re-enter the game. But you've got to make sure you take the time to recognize, because if you don't and you foul and you keep fouling, it's going to destroy the team.
Yeah, you're going to get ejected.
Exactly.
And nobody wants to get there, and thinking about just a basketball game. If a coach sees that there is a player
Right.
who now we're at our second foul and he sees that the behavior or this player is still aggressive or still that same action, they pull them out of the game. And usually you'll see that they have a quick talk with them. That's exactly what you're saying.
Right.
Pull yourself out of the game. That doesn't mean that you can't revisit that conversation later. It's just understanding that every conversation doesn't need to have the period mark that day. You can put a comma or semicolon in it and come back.
Mhm. But then it's so hard because some people just like, I just want to win this argument. I just want to win this argument. I just want to, yeah. But then you're going to be playing by yourself.
In the locker room.
Yeah. Definitely. Yes. Yes. So you've got to be able to go back in, you know? Yeah. Which goes into number 7. It's about the rebounding, going back in. How can I go back in? You know?
That rebound is very important. It's, you knew what got you pulled out of the game.
Right.
Because you should have taken that time to understand, okay, I'm in timeout.
Right.
What can I do, or what part did I play in me in this timeout? And that's not saying you blame yourself for anything. That's saying recognize that, because the only thing that you can control and change and alter is yourself.
Right.
So if you concentrate on what do I need to do? Number 1, when I go back in the game, I'm gonna tie my shoe. Number 2, when I go back into the game, I'm gonna recognize that we're on a team. And number 3, maybe I need to communicate more with the person to my left so that every time that I go over there, we're not bumping into each other.
Mm-hmm.
So just like when you have that argument or things get a little too heated, you sit back and you think about what role did I play in this? And you speak from that perspective. That usually will prompt your partner to speak from their perspective. Once you've gotten that out, then you each can say, well, this is how I felt when you did X, Y, and Z.
So what you're saying is, when something comes up, you don't go and say, well, you did this and you did this and you did this. You start with the I.
Exactly. You open that up, because that will take that defense that your partner's already on, like, here we go again.
Right.
But when you start talking about what I did, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, you did. Yeah. Because you're saying you recognize whatever it is that caused this, even though you may not have been the start of it. You're pointing out the part that you played in it, and in hopes that the conversation can keep flowing. You're not doing this because you want them to admit what they did wrong. You're doing this to show this is what the role that I played, because I want us to have a better conversation.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think it kind of even goes into our last strategy, number 8, is the dance. In March Madness, there's a dance. Couples, we all have a dance. We all flow in a certain manner. You got to really understand how you and your partner dance together. And if you like that dance, or if there's issues with that dance, you got to be aware of it so you can make changes to it.
Yeah. And switch your lead. When I do my couples mindfulness class together, I always say, you decide who's going to take the lead, and then X, Y, and Z. And so sometimes the husband might take the lead. Sometimes the wife might take the lead. If we're talking dual partners, the more dominant partner may take the lead one time, and the more submissive partner may take the lead. So that dance is recognizing who's going to take the lead, playing your role in the dance, and every once in a while, do a dip, change it up, do a twirl.
I love that. Yes, yeah. Because when you shake it up a little bit, it just brings so much drum roll excitement.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what's really like people love March Madness is because of the excitement. It's the buildup of teams and doing things differently. And that's how you should be about your relationship. You should be excited about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you're not excited about your relationship, not just your partner, if you're not excited about the relationship that you have with your partner, take a step back and reevaluate it. Why is it that that person excites me but our relationship doesn't? Because those are two separate things.
Mm.
Think about somebody who may have won the championship, but they're still unhappy with the team. That's exactly what that is. So
Right.
let me take a step back. I'm winning because this person is awesome, but the relationship that we have is off. And how long can we continue to win if we're faking this relationship?
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is powerful. And as I think about all the work I've done with couples, and sometimes, like you said, they love the partner, but they're not excited about the relationship,
Mhm.
and we've had to really look at everything in the sense of where they're living, their schedule, if they're running around 50 million things, helping 50 million aspects, even down to their health.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that the food we're eating, the lack of exercise, the money we're spending, the money we're not spending. It's just a variety of different other aspects. Yeah.
So we don't it's not a lot of people that think about that. It's more love is not enough to
Mm.
sustain any relationship. Love is the bare basic minimum. It's like the sheetrock that goes up. You can live in a house that's just sheetrock, but eventually it's going to get knocked down. Love is not enough. It's understanding, it's boundaries, it's communication, it's respect. That's a big one. So that's the pieces that play into the actual relationship. The people are the sheetrock. They're the bare minimum with a little love.
Yeah, and just because you mentioned boundaries and respect. And when you talk about respect, it's not only just respecting your partner, but kind of going back to that first strategy we gave, but also respecting yourself.
Absolutely.
What um, are you letting yourself be exposed to, or even yourself? What are sometimes we don't even respect ourselves. And it's so important for us to have boundaries.
It's huge because a boundaryless relationship today turns into resentment and chaos tomorrow.
Can you repeat that one more time?
A boundaryless relationship today turns into resentment and chaos tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because I it was one young lady who I've known for about 5-ish years. And when we first got to know each other, after about a 6 months to a year, I was like, you have to start speaking up on the things that you don't like, because this is going to turn into resentment. And as we come up on this 5-6 year mark, it's all playing out. The things that she allowed, and because she just didn't want to rock boats, she now resents the time that was lost in how the behaviors of her partner is. Like, but this is the standard that you set, or lack thereof standard that you set. So boundaries in relationships are huge because boundaries create respect.
Right, definitely. And as I'm thinking about the couples that I've seen, when you don't have boundaries in this resentment, you don't have boundaries. And I'm thinking of a couple where they got together when they were 15 or 16.
Mhm.
And, and they've been together ever since. but there was no boundaries. You know, they weren't individual people. And now they're later on resenting each other because they feel like they didn't get to grow up as individual people. This didn't happen. This didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't go to my senior prom because
That's what he said.
I allowed myself to, because he didn't want me to, you know.
Right.
He felt jealous, or I didn't go on my senior trip, or I didn't, so many things. And you cannot get time back, period.
Right.
You cannot. You can, somebody can be hurt and then they can be unhurt tomorrow, but you cannot get time back. Boundaries, and trust me, you cannot kill anyone on purpose with a boundary.
That's true. And you're right, you cannot get, and so just like in March Madness or in basketball where they, you know, toward the end they play a series of games. Once a game is over, it's over. Yeah, then a new game can start, but you can't go back and take the points from that game and bring it onto this one. It doesn't work that way.
Not at all. And switching over to football real quick, you know, that whole cheating allegation with the Super Bowl or with championship game with Deflategate, they didn't take that win back from you. You can't come back from it.
Right. So it is moving forward, but understanding your past, learning new skills. So when that same thing comes again, you know how to move forward in a better way.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, this has been wonderful. I think we gave them more than 8 strategies. Yes. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the upcoming shows. We'll be back in a moment.
A must-have for parents to be, first-time parents, empty nesters, and parents all around. There are infinite ways to parent a child, but the trick is trying to figure out the best way that fits you and your child. Create strong connections during pregnancy, to not pulling your hair out during the terrible twos, navigating puberty, and having adult conversations with your adult children. The Intimacy of Parenthood covers it all, and it is now on Amazon, available in Kindle, Audible, and paperback.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Wow, we just did it. I thought that was just wonderful. Just on talking about the strategies of relationships and helping people understand it, and using a metaphor of basketball and sports.
That was awesome. I love it. And my hope is that this really does support and help someone, no matter what stage in their relationship is. And we have even more of amazingness just like this coming up in the near future. So some of our upcoming shows on March 16th, that's today, on March the 23rd, Wisdom is the New Currency with Mary Henderson. On March 30th, we have Love is Not a Transaction with Kim Sorrell. On April the 6th, Spring Break Sneaky Links. We're going to be talking about that because a lot of that may be happening here. And then on April the 13th, we have Intimacy with Spirit, Self, and Loved Ones with Blair B. So I'm really excited about that. And one more. We get one more in here because I want you guys to put this on your calendars, okay? April the 20th, Spiritual Intimacy with Dr. April and myself. So I'm excited about those upcoming shows.
Okay, all right, definitely. Well, this has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show. If you like us, please rate us on Facebook, Instagram, or anywhere you listen to your podcast, Twitter, and you can see us on YouTube. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Dr. April Brown's 7-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon. We'll see you next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe.